we're at the Rich Mix venue in Bethnal Green, and we're celebrating, commemorating the victory at Stalingrad by the Soviet forces, the Red Army, in the 1940s against Nazi Germany, which was really the decisive battle of the Second World War and the decisive battle against the Nazis.
There is more interest in the Great Patriotic War, as the Russians and the Soviets called it, and more interested in the Battle of Stalingrad specifically than there was in the past. And I think philosophy football debate tonight, I think that's one expression of that interest.
I wonder what other venue in London tonight can promise a lecture on military history, rhythm and blues, and Ottoman punk. Well, philosophy football at Rich Mix can provide all three.
There's lots of different ways to remember, to commemorate, to mark, to try and understand what's going on. And philosophy football trying to combine a bit of history and fun. They've got this fantastic set of T-shirts about the Great Patriotic War. I think that helps spread the message further, maybe gets people interested in the war who wouldn't necessarily be interested. So so the more diversity, the more different approaches, the more flair there is, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So I think they're doing a really great job. I'm going to give a little talk about the battle and its historic significance, and then there's going to be a Q&A section. A couple of other guest speakers going to be sharing the platform with me.
I was very struck today listening on the radio news about the reports of the celebrations in Volgograd, in Stalingrad today, and it was treated as though it was some slightly weird provincial internal Russian affair. Whereas, of course, the Battle of Stalingrad was the greatest battle in human history, the most tumultuous and most bloody and most terrible, as well as the greatest and most important triumph. The Red Army's victories, which were the decisive ones in the Second World War against Nazi Germany, gave a huge impetus to the left all over the world and to the anti-colonial movement, to the anti-fascist movement, and to progressive forces everywhere.
It was a war against fascism and Nazism in defence of democracy. It was a successful one. Now, I know there's probably lots of people here would consider themselves to be anti-war one way or another, but sometimes wars have to be fought and won, and the Second World War was such a war. So the Second World War is a really clear-cut case of the importance of anti-fascist struggle. Not just in its military dimensions, because the Second War wasn't just a military struggle, it was a political struggle, it was a cultural struggle, it was a moral struggle. A lot of the contested historical discourse that goes on around the war is all about trying to undermine, dilute, question the anti-fascist, anti-Nazi character of that war. So we need to engage with that discourse and defend our vision of the war as a just anti-fascist cause. And I don't see why that vision can't be an inspiring vision for today's generations and future generations as well.
I'm afraid you won't find the bacillus of anything really socialist has any real organisational force in Russia today. And the less so because the older generation is dying off and the younger generation feels that is a completely spent force and that there is no new excitement around rediscovering what socialism might mean, I'm afraid to say.
Maybe there will be a resurgence of it, but that kind of collectivity and that kind of sacrifice is difficult to see repeated. You don't especially want to see the worst battle in history ever repeated.
When Putin really got serious about this and started getting the school textbooks together in 2007, it became not a socialist narrative anymore. The socialism was sort of completely downplayed, and it all became part of an imperial narrative, which went somehow seamlessly from Tsarist Russia into Stalinist Russia and then to Putin, with sort of quite a sewing job there. But anyway, we all know about how we've done that with our own histories.
I think philosophy football thought it was important to connect what's going on now with what's gone on in the past, how we can learn from the past and what that means for us now as activists, as a general population, and what we need to do now in order to be able to take fight forward.
And I think, you know, there's lots of connections you can make with right now, which is the battle against racism and fascism, of course, is, you know, carrying on everywhere all the time, and that's always, you know, crucial. It's crucial in Britain, it's crucial all over Europe, all over the world. But it's also a message about our own history, that, you know, the history of the Second World War has been rewritten a great deal. That, you know, since the end of the Cold War, it's been sort of, you know, the Soviet role in the war has been written out of the story, really. And the importance of that, and the fact that the Red Army basically gave their blood for our freedom and our rights.
The design is just a reproduction of the Great Patriotic War General Service Medal, issued to over 9 million Soviet military personnel, which was not a special medal for bravery, but there was just a medal that every single person was given. And we simply put the slogan around the outside that we're marking the 70th anniversary.
I'll sing you some socialit.
Socialist R&B. I like the sound of that. Well dressed as well, I thought. No, excellent.
And it needs to be put back centre stage. It's also part of British history because, of course, Britain was an ally of the Soviet Union during the Second World War against Nazi Germany, and depended on its soldiers and its people and their heroism. And so I think it's great to be celebrating it, the 70th anniversary of the victory at Stalingrad today, which was the greatest and most horrific battle in human history, and to be celebrating it in a way which combines, you know, politics with culture, with dance, with music, with a bit of theatre, and with some fun. And I think it's a great event, and philosophy football and Hope Not Hate, the anti-fascist campaign. In fact, they're working together and doing it in this way, you know, not just having political meetings, not just having demonstrations, but giving people a sense of their own culture, their own history, the history of the left, and the importance of it, and the great achievements and triumphs of socialism and the left in the 20th century, and the anti-fascist movement. Things that we can draw inspiration from and learn from, both the failures but also the great successes for our own time, and building a new kinds of socialism for the 21st century, new forms of struggle and new forms of democracy. That is what we need for our time.
We are so proud as Philosophy Football to be putting on this evening with the brave activists of the Hope Not Hate campaign fighting fascism today, because let us not forget that in 1993 the Isle of Dogs constituency in this borough elected Derek Beacon as a British National Party councillor. Just across the road in Brick Lane in the late 70s and 80s, this was the paper pitch of the National Front, the British movement of the British National Party, until they were similarly taken off the streets of the East End. So it's no accident that we're holding this 70th anniversary night for Stalingrad here in Bethnal Green.
If the Red Army had not defeated the Nazis at Stalingrad 2 years later in 1945, there would have been no liberation of Auschwitz. Because over 200 days, 1 million Russians, 1 million members of the Red Army defeated the Nazis. It was the first defeat that the Nazis ever had. It was the first time a Nazi field marshal ever surrendered. And that defeat of the Nazis was ideological, it was personal, and it was political. Comrades, brothers and sisters, hopenothate.org.uk, you are our Red Army. Thank you very much.
Get down, dance,
celebrate the defeat of the Nazis with the magnificent, the 15-piece clarinet, percussion, strings, vocals, and one hell of a danceable melody of the Trans-Siberian March Band.
Hitler may well have won. So, you know, I very much agree with Jeff Roberts that this was a historic victory that we were very pleased to celebrate tonight. It's great to be there with people that were like-minded, you know. That's one of the philosophy football's great events, you know, you meet like-minded people, you know, from all kinds of generations, by the way, you know, that's impressive.
You have to give a lot of credit to the music for them to make people switch from the kind of lecture atmosphere to the kind of party atmosphere in a link like this. I must say, you know, it really is really good. That's why it's worked.
So this has given me a lot to think about. Perfect. Just couldn't have been better. The lecture, the panel, the dancing. Yeah, loved it.
It's a funky place to hear a lot about, you know, foreign cultures and music.
In the newspapers today, for the first time for one of our events in national newspapers, it's sold out as a result. We feel triumphant about it, and we're going on to the next one.
Now the world is full of sin, but one book got the answers in. Come and read it, don't be shy. You could get it from the library.